probably want to have their question answered too. Okay? So with that being said, if you come up to the mic with your question, we will do our best to answer it for you. And let's just have a good conversation for tonight. We're here for 2 hours. You don't have to stay the whole time. If you ask your question and you're like, I'm good, you guys are free to leave. But just please be understanding, and let's make this a meeting where we actually get some progress out of it. I don't want you guys to go home angry or anything like that. It's to help move La Junta forward. And I'm glad to see all these faces. I mean, our last meeting was huge too. So we're here to answer any questions that may be out there. So whoever wants to get up first, please come on. Mel, do you have the mic on, or do you have to? Is that off? Yep.
You should be good.
So who's going to break the ice?
I'll make sure it's 1, 2, 3.
Too loud? Good. All right. Okay. Hey, directional mics, they come at you. I could stand right here and do it. So, don't feel like you got to get right up here, if you've got a loud voice like me. You are very loud. Yes, I know.
My question is just for the 1.5% or the 1% tax increase. What information is being out to the public? I haven't seen anything. Where's the money going to go if it passes? So I mean, just starting there. There's no information. I haven't seen any information. Who's what?
So for the 1%, not 1.5.
Sorry.
1%. We are starting a lot earlier than we did last year. Okay, because last year a lot of people told us we were too late on the 1%. We didn't get it out there enough. We didn't have enough information out there. If you would have picked up, which one did you have out there? This one right here is saying yes and no, and then the other one is showing you your general fund expenses. Now I get this question a lot. I get this question a ton of times. Why didn't you make it for a specific thing as opposed to the general fund? Right? That's a fair question. That's a great question. In 2015, we ran a public safety tax, right?
Yes, for 1%.
For 1%. If that would have passed and the library was in trouble, we wouldn't have been able to take from that because it would have been directly tied to the public safety. Okay? If we wanted to take from that, we would have to have another vote. And you guys know how elections work. It's hard to get that passed. So maybe the library is not important to you, but it's important to other people. Maybe the golf course isn't important to you, but it's important to other people. Maybe you don't utilize the swimming pool. It's important to other people. So how would we pick just one thing to tie this 1% to? So when it's in the general fund, if one of those is having trouble, we can use that out of that fund. That's why we didn't just tie it to one issue. If you look at this, I'll let Rick briefly explain it and what those final numbers look like right there, and what the 1% brings us.
Okay, you know what? I get asked that a lot. What's the 1% going to do? All right, to begin of this year, and Joe was right. Let me just say, 2015 we tried to run, and we ran it as a public safety tax, for police and fire, and because we saw the regulations changing. Now, it didn't pass, but what did pass? Rural fire. They did a property tax deal at the same time. Now, the city is, fire department is a city rural fire department. So, rural is a special district, and they get their money from property tax. Well, they saw when this tax didn't come and that everything was we're going to have to start cutting this stuff, they came to the table. And they paid 40% of all the firemen's salaries. We only own one piece of equipment, and that's the ladder truck. The rest of that equipment, that's rural fire. A lot of that is wild land fire equipment, and that's because they take care of Comanche grasslands, right? And if you think that they have too much equipment, when they sold their equipment, because they saw where they could get a good deal on some wildland fire, they took that board, that special district board, they took and they sold all that other equipment to people within the valley that do the mutual aid for us. Now, we all see that we go down to Los Animas and we fight fires. We go up to Rocky Ford, Swink. That's mutual aid. We're all in it together. So, when they start talking about fire and saying that that was our equipment, no, we just have the ladder truck. And we do have a lease on it. Now, when we bought it for $897,000, well, we saw that the supply chain was going. We needed a new one to hit the buildings we had to hit. Guess what? That same truck, $1.5 million and 2 years out. Yeah. And we sold our other truck for $400,000. So, we made money back. So, we reduced the debt. So, you always got to look at the full picture. But when we started the budget, and we did a regular budget, because I was thinking that the 1% was going to pass. It didn't pass. So, you'll see, that's your approved budget. So, we went back into that budget, and we had to tear out about $1.4 million. And what you'll see is a budget adjustment, which departments that came out of, and the total amount. Now, what will this tax bring back in? About $1.4 million. So we can keep doing the things we're doing. But does it add on? No, not until we grow this town.
But it might.
But it might.
But it might, because in November, December, depending on who you listen to, we're also going to add in Sutherland's. And that's going to bring more tax money into this town as well, too. All right? So that 1.4 was without accounting for what they may bring in their sales as well.
That's right, the growth of the community.
Now, there's two ways for the city to make money. It's sales tax or property tax.
Right.
Now, sales tax, according to our Buxton study, 63% of that is paid from outside citizens. 63%. And that's not counting cash. They didn't count cash in that study. They only counted card charges.
Can I say something about that?
Yes.
Okay, so you said the study was done in 2017, so that was done pre-pandemic.
Yes.
And it's the same chart that you guys have for the nursing home that was passed
Yes.
with that tax. So why wouldn't there be an updated study done?
Because we don't have the money to do the stuff.
But then your numbers are flawed, right?
No,
Because
One thing I could tell you, like during the pandemic, we saw a 10% growth in our sales tax. So when we were all shut in and we started shopping the valley worked. And if you'd have caught me on TTO during that time, I'd just be saying, way to go, guys. See, this just proves out. If we believed in ourselves and shopped the valley would work. But a lot of us go to Pueblo Springs. Everybody does, but we got to start thinking about, hey, how do we quit that? How do we get that? Sutherland's, let's take that. Farming and ranching. What we see at Big R is not in the city limits.
So we get nothing.
We get zero sales tax. We've tried to get them in over the years. They don't want to come in, which is fine. But now, Sutherland's, they're into that business. They're into small appliances and stuff, kitchen appliances, indoor furniture, and outdoor furniture. And they'll have a whole line. There's $3.2 million leakage off of those items alone. Think about how much sales tax that we could bring in. Yeah. So I think the numbers, are still good because, if you look at sales tax numbers pre to post, after, we all came back. We're not growing like we're used to.
And when people say, we had, one second, when people say we had a lot of increase during the pandemic, well, inflation also hit too. So everything costs more. So yeah, we brought in a lot more, but it all had to get paid out for these items that cost us a lot more with longer lead times. So it's not like we just profited all this money during the pandemic and we're sitting on a pile of cash. When I ran for mayor, I had two things that I was running on. That was transparency and accountability. There was only one meeting that was city council that was streamed for you guys. Now every board has to have their meeting streamed up here for you guys to watch because we have kids, we have grandkids, we have lives, work. You guys can't make every meeting. I understand that, right? But you can catch it on Facebook. I'm not going to go too crazy on newspaper media, but it's not every day. It used to be an everyday newspaper. Now it's what, one day a week? One day a week. And even at that, not everyone reads the newspaper. Okay? So, besides social media, where's Adrian at? Adrian with his online Seco News. That's a big help too, but it's hard to get these words out for you guys to attend all these meetings. So we're doing everything we can to be transparent with you. We had a whole budget work session that was posted online when we were going through all of this. We didn't get many viewers because it's not everyone's favorite thing, but it was out there. This right here, this is online. So those that couldn't make it, you guys can come back and watch us at any time. And then there's accountability, right? I can't speak for past councils or past mayors. I can only speak for when I came in. And I immediately saw where we were at, and I knew we had to get more revenue in. It's simple math. You raise revenues or you cut expenses. Okay? So we tried to raise revenues. We didn't do it successfully. So we had to cut expenses. It wasn't a punishment. We just cannot keep on going that way. So we made some cuts, and we don't want to make any more, so we're trying our best to get out there and get ahead of this time.
Yep. And
Hold on, I got one question back here.
To go back to the Sutherlands, if you're looking at that much more revenue coming in from that store, why would you need a 1% sales tax increase?
That's a great question.
yeah,
This 1% gets us where we need to be to get to where we didn't have to take any of those cuts.
right.
Sutherland's would help us grow, right? So when we get people that want to run for council, they want to run for mayor, and they have all these grand ideas, you have to have money in order to do that, okay?
And inflation ain't stopping.
Inflation ain't stopping, and where we're at right now, we're not surviving without that 1%, okay? We have to continue looking at ways to shrink. So that's going to help us grow potentially. I hear people say, well, we want a youth center, we want this, we want that. We got to keep what we have. We got to, steady the boat before we worry about anything else, and that'll help us to start growing into the future.
So instead of bringing Sutherland in, why didn't you help some of our local businesses expand their businesses?
That's a great question as well, too. I didn't go out looking for Sutherland. Sutherland's came to me. They asked if they could get a meeting with us, and they wanted to come to La Junta. They were looking for the opportunity. What they look for is they look for old Walmarts and old Kmarts. That's what they specialize in. They want to be at least 50 miles away from a bigger city that has Lowe's, Home Depot, stuff like that. And anytime any business comes to us and they want to do business in the city of La Junta, we're going to listen. We're going to be there to see what we can do to bring them in here. We're not going to say no to anybody.
I heard that you gave them someone gave them $500,000 to come to town.
It wasn't me. I didn't have that much to give them. They did get to talk to Urban Renewal. They filled out a application with Urban Renewal, which they could have got up to, correct me if I'm wrong, Cynthia, was it 40%? They could have asked for up to?
Actually, recommended that it be 24%, whatever that they.
And they asked for 13.
Or up to a maximum up to 49% for an exceptional project. And they fit the criteria for light and safety.
Yes.
And because you can't just go into Urban Renewal and say, give me money.
Right.
Yeah.
But could that money have been used for some of our other businesses?
That money is available to all the other businesses if they go and fill out an application and it meets our criteria, which is blight, safety,
Right.
and is there a third one?
No, that's it.
Okay, blight and safety.
There are 11 different criteria under the blight and safety. Just one other thing, you have to be in the TIF district.
Yes. Yes.
It's not for all businesses all over.
So you can't be in Rocky Ford or anywhere like that and get it.
Yeah.
Cynthia, do you want to come up real quick and loudly?
But
Or do you want to take
2
that?
months later, after Sutherland, we had 3 local businesses come through that one bought the Stagner building and was wanting to do some improvements. And another one was Lynn Care building so they could do some improvements. And there was a third one.
That's Sutherland's.
That was Sutherland.
That's the third one. I don't know who I'm talking to. The lady in the yellow?
My name is Rayanne Weiger.
Hi, and I take it you own a business.
No, I do. I have rental properties. So
Okay, all right. My name is Cynthia Neeb. I'm the Director of Economic Development, and I'm also the Director of Urban Renewal, CLG, and some other things. What they were given it was only 13% of what they are working on. It's going into the millions and millions of dollars that they're using to rehabilitate that building.
Of their own money.
Of their own money. This is not anybody's money. It wasn't 500,000. I'm so glad you asked so that we can get the correct information out there. It was $250,000, which, as Joe said, was only 13% of their expected expenditures.
But I still think that money, never mind. We could have been spent with our 3 lumber yards in the valley.
Well, the 3 lumber yards, but you have to be in the TIF district to apply for the money, and we also advertise. You know, we put public notices in the paper before we run grants. And so everybody's notified. I post it on Facebook. I do, you know, as we said, there's a problem getting information out. But, you know, it is out there, but people have to look for it as well. Just a second, Julie. There's a woman in red. Yes.
I would like to know if I'm not bashing Sutherland's. But I want to know if Sutherland's met with the other lumber companies that are in this DIF or JIF or whatever you're calling it. If they met with them, the city council, and had an open meeting for the public. Did they have that?
Not that I know of. May I have your name too? Because I'm sorry, I don't know you.
My name is Carolyn.
Hi.
But then why are we pushing this through before they met with everybody?
Because urban renewal is a separate entity related, but there is no, you know, we are always on Facebook. You can watch our meetings if you want to. You know when something is coming up so that that's available to you. But that's not the way urban renewal works. It's not as if we have city council's approval for something like that. The money is private. It's collected within that TIF district, and one of the other lumber companies that you're talking about, I take it you're talking about Rocky Ford, they do not have anything to do with the TIF district.
That's fine, but it's only fair to the public to have a meeting where they're informing the public before you put something down like that. I'm not saying that Sutherland should come in here.
That's private
There's
business.
not enough meetings that we're notified about to attend, and this 1%, I think, Joe, I did this meeting.
We have
And I had an
Carolyn.
issue with something you said at that last meeting.
I know.
And I don't think it's right, even if it's the rules of whatever.
Well, let me just ask you
I'm
this.
not finished, please.
Oh, okay.
It's not fair to the public to put things through that you haven't included the public and the people that's going to be paying that tax.
Okay. So you would only pay the tax if you actually purchased from Sutherland's.
We pay the tax, the 1% tax that's
Okay.
charged to us, whatever I don't even live in Lahana, but the tax, I get charged tax in shops. I shop in Lahana. I do the local stores, and I still pay my money there, but I don't get a voice because I live outside the city.
Well, I would love to give you actually information on the state statute, because we're required to follow the state statute, and we also have, just so you know, a survey out there right now. We're doing a strategic plan for the Urban Renewal Authority. I've been blasting it again all over the place. So is the Chamber of Commerce for us. Everybody's been trying to cooperate. Did you fill that out?
I didn't get one.
Well, it's blasted on Facebook.
So if you're not on Facebook or you have limited email, you're not going to get that information.
So let me ask you, how would you like that communicated?
I would like mailing so I could read it and have it right in front of me.
All right. So
Meeting wouldn't go outside the city.
right. It would not go outside the city limits.
Outside the city limits, I still have to pay the taxes for the city when I buy something in the city.
Right.
Well, you pay
Right,
Pueblo
so
tax
I've
if you
been
shop
trying
up
to
there.
But you pay Pueblo tax when you shop.
And they're not going to send you a notice asking you about that. So anyway, Julie Worley had a question.
Julie?
Julie.
Carolyn, thank you.
I just want to know what the boundaries of the TIF district are.
Now get back over here, Cynthia. And it's not just for you, Julie, but there's people watching online. I want them to be able to hear. And Cynthia, you may be loud, but we want to make sure.
Okay, I am loud. So it's
Explain what TIF means.
tax increment district. It is, there was a plan that was created in 2007, okay, that continued the Urban Renewal Authority, all right? There's a whole plan out there, And so we have to follow the plan, and it sets what the TIF district what is. It was expanded. There is a map. It's on chooselj.com if you want to look it up there. I will blast it on Facebook so people can see it. We have an expanded one. The only problem is it's kind of hard to figure out the streets, okay? Because it's a big district and tiny streets. So we're working on that for the next strategic plan to have it so that it's amplified, so that it's larger. Now, Julie, you asked one other question.
You answered it, the boundaries of the TIF district.
It's basically, it's shaped, it's the first 3 to 4 blocks, okay, of the downtown, and then it extends sort of like a string, okay, along Highway 50.
Yeah, and it goes from the north boundary all the way up to
Pardon?
Foster.
You have an urban renewal meeting tomorrow.
No, we don't.
You know?
No. We don't have, the next meeting would be the last Thursday of every month. We are having a strategic planning session instead though, so, yeah. Okay,
Cynthia, could you also explain that's property tax, not sales tax, and it's only to those businesses?
you just said it, but I'll say that. It is based on property tax. And just so you know, we don't get all the property tax from the county. It is a very small portion of that property tax that is used for the TIF district to fund grants and whatever the programs. There are other things you can do with that. Now I'm going to be quiet. Here you go.
Thank you, Cynthia. Who do I have? Mrs. Leba. Can you come up? And I know you guys like to ask the questions from the back, but there's people watching on here too, and I just want everyone to be able to hear that. So I know everyone thinks they're loud, but if you could come up to the mic and ask the question, it'd be much appreciated.
Seco News would like it too.
You know, what we could do is have somebody pass the mic around to the audience.
But we only have one.
Well, we don't have video.
D. Leba, 511 Lincoln here in La Junta. My question is for Cynthia or you guys. We're talking about state statute with urban renewal. So I know that La Junta has different bylaws with that, or we have different bylaws from a lot of the other ones that are throughout the state. But on urban renewal authorities, we're supposed to also include other special districts that are included in the TIFs, including like school districts and even our county commissioners, etc. So how do we fit into that?
Okay, 2007 went around to the county commissioners and to school district, and none of them at the time wanted to be on the board, and they said nope, just keep on. So and I think she has more
We just did it
information.
recently too. We
Yeah,
asked again.
let me add that the state statute changed in 2016 where it asked that other districts be included. Everybody that is a special district, had a special district, was asked if they would like to be included. They did not want to be on the board. So no one's been
For our district.
It was just.
It would be the school district, it would be the fire district, it would be.
But I mean, did you send a letter to the superintendent or to the board itself? Or?
We would have to ask Mr. Klein because I was not the director, but I know they did it.
We sent it to all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that just came up again when I got elected because we were the county commissioners line. So that got sent out again, and no one took us up on it.
No. Go ahead. Sorry.
So this came up again when I was elected. There was talk that maybe the county commissioners wanted to be involved. So we had them resend that again, and no one wanted to be involved at that point.
But we love them.
When was that?
What is it? What are we in? 2021? Yeah. Who's next?
Okay, hey, before that, I want to go back to you, Caleb, just real fast. Okay, guys, if if you're looking for like more information, like go to the city webpage and you'll be able to see the 2023 budget. You'll see the 2022 audit in there, and we also have the presentations. So you could hear it from the auditors direct. I really encourage you to go back and check out all three of them. Especially the audit one, man. I mean, Hancock and Frazee did a great job and stuff.
Or if you want to hear the budget presentations, we have them online. So, all that's on,
Not just Facebook.
not just on Facebook, but on, on our website.
You have another one?
Yeah. Lisa would like me to, thank you, ma'am.
Oh, yes, on your website.
Yeah, I don't have information on the website yet, but we do have a yes committee for the 1% sales tax increase. I just wanted to let you know, Kale. We do have a committee that's put together. We are broken down into different, work groups that focus on specifically like our communication, research, what types of questions you have. We want to make sure we're giving you reliable answers. And we're going to do our research, make sure we get that information out there. We also want to make sure we're having two-way conversations so that everybody understands how this will impact our town. And then we'll have a ripple effect if we don't pass this time. This will be, the third time that we've gone up for it. And we've already, we passed the minimum wage increase, but we didn't keep up with that. So we are going to see we're already seeing, if you look around town, you're already seeing the long-term impacts of that. But I just wanted to let you know that there is going to be information out. We will be encouraging people to register to vote and making sure that they understand what they're voting for. Does that help?
Yes. Yeah, the big thing of that, so I have friends also in Los Angeles, so they passed a 1% tax increase several years ago, and they put a number to it. So they put a number to it, right? So yearly they get about $300,000. I think that also is beneficial to the constituents, so they know what is 1.4. Yes. So that's all that I wanted on that piece.
So, but hey, the website's coming up tomorrow night live, and it'll be 2A4, the letter 4, LJ.com. Right?
2A for LJ.
2A for LJ, and 2A is the number. You remember last year it was 2B? Now it's 2A. Right. And, I want to thank Dee for getting up here. The election's coming up. And Dee's turned in for Ward 3. Zeke, Ayala sitting there. He's picked up back for Ward 3. Paul Velasquez picked up for Ward 1. And Joe has graciously stayed as the local mayor. And he's done a good job.
He's had so much fun, he's going to do it again.
Yep.
Well, it's no fun, but you know what? He realizes it's a necessary job, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Joe.
And I want to add something too. So this whole sales tax came up again. Carolyn mentioned that we sat through this before. Thank you for coming again. I would say we don't always agree, but you do show up, and I thank you for that, because not everyone shows up to these meetings. These meetings are important. This is where change starts to happen. This is where we have those tough conversations. Another thing that got brought up when this whole 1% brought up, first they wanted us to bring more business. We got one, we got a couple, and we're still working on more. The other thing that was a big driver at those other meetings was marijuana. Okay, and I still get asked that question all the time about marijuana and why we don't have it here. That also failed 2 times, right? And I said council should not be the ones to bring that back. I gave dates. I was very transparent on what needs to happen if someone wanted to put that on the ballot. I'm all for it. But no one ever stepped up to do that. And I didn't feel it was council's job to put that up there. Whether it brings in, I don't know how much it's going to bring. I know it's not going to bring in $1.4 million. It's not our savior that everyone thinks it is, because you have Los Animas, you have Rocky Ford. We're not early enough. So yes, it would bring in some money. It would be 1.4, but that has to come from the citizens. That has to come from someone in the community that wants to try and put that on the ballot. That's not from council. Okay, that's my stance on that.
Why wouldn't that be from council?
Because the people have voted it down twice. I believe that the people should be the ones to put it back on the ballot if that's what they want.
And we have to have people that would invest here.
And you're also assuming that it won't bring in 1.4 million with Rocky Ford and Los Animas?
I don't think it will. I haven't run studies or numbers on it. If it proved me wrong, I'd be glad to have it prove me wrong, but I don't see the math for that.
But even if we did, we'd have to have someone that would want to invest and be able to have
You
the
have to have
capital
a
and
grow, a
knowledge for the
dispensary. They'd have to put all that into work. For people that are into that's your choice. I'm not saying not to do it. I'm just saying if you want it on the ballot, you guys are going to have to be the ones driving that forward.
I use medical marijuana and I have a license. I would rather buy it here and keep my money in La Junta than going to Rocky Ford and spending it up there. I'm doing it legally because I have a medical marijuana license. I do it for health purposes, and all of my doctors are aware that I use medical marijuana, and they don't have a problem with it. So I don't why people don't think about things like that a little bit more.
I'm not knocking you for that. I'm just saying why that hasn't been brought in. Any other questions?
So I know.
Can you come up, please?
You can do it. Way to go, Sarah.
I know that there's been big talk about cutting expenses in all these different departments and different areas. I haven't heard any talk about ways to increase revenue on the other side of the budget book.
Great question. I love that. Thank you. Limited. You know, sales tax, we live and die on, and we, intergovernmental grants or property tax, which we get $125,000. That's it. It's been 3.109 since the 80s. And when you start comparing to other cities, like Fowler has 3%, Lamar has 3%, Los Angeles has 4%, and Pueblo has 3.7%. And these are city taxes only. I ain't including state or anybody. Rockford 4, Trinidad 4. But what it doesn't tell you is like Rockford, they get a lot of their money off of property tax also, right? So does Fowler. I don't know about Lamar, but I know that Lamar balances their general fund with their utilities. With the city of La Junta, and it's always been that way. It's nothing that I did. It was, actually it was done by Carmi Solo, and he set that rate at 6.5%. Of their previous year revenues, like electric or water or sewer, sanitation, that comes over for the general fund services to help pay for like accounting and some of the other things, which was really great. We thought, but. You always heard about, Lamar's rates are higher and why are they higher and stuff, and they were on ARPA about it. Well, they take 12.5% of their revenues and put it right into the general fund. That's why they're able to do some of the things we're not able to do. But the difference is utility people are being paid from the people within the city. Sales tax is paid by everybody who uses the city. And I still believe the sales tax is right, and I still believe that the 6.5 that was set years ago is correct to do.
There's also franchise fees, franchise tax.
That is the franchise.
And we might have to look at that if this doesn't work. Those are the only ways that the city can make money. I mean, at the last one for the library, they wanted us to sell T-shirts and stuff like that. It's just not, we can't make up that much money selling T-shirts.
Okay, and the rec program, been taking it up by $5 every year. Been doing the golf $50 every year. And cart sheds, stuff little by little. But this year taught me something about when we hit $50, we saw our rec numbers drop. The kids are still out there. It's just the parents can't afford it. So you can price yourself out of programs. And with La Junta, I think $50 is probably about the max I'd like to go. If we don't get it, of course, everything goes up. But it doesn't have to. Really, it doesn't have to.
And the library is a public library. We can't start charging people to use the library. If we do that, that's just going to hurt those that have lower incomes, and that's just not something that I'm willing to do. I hope it never comes to that. But, the rec programs, $50, that's tough. So then people say, why don't you get businesses to sponsor? Okay, we have limited small businesses here, and they cannot sponsor every sport. We got soccer, we got football, we got baseball. They're going to get pretty taxed out really fast if we ask them to sponsor everyone that comes up. that costs them a lot of money. You know, we can try it, but at the end of the day, that's asking a lot from them. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword, and when we're trying our best here, you know, some people don't always agree with Rick. They don't agree with me. But you know what? We're doing our best for La Junta. And we work well together.
Yes, very well.
We make sure that we're always on the same page. And, you know, we don't agree, but we talk through things. And we try to do what's best for all of you. It's not because we don't want to do things. It's right now we don't have the money to do things.
That's right. And Joe, Lisa Pantoya, Daniel Horton, he's on Urban Renewal. They went through Action 22's first Leadership and Governance Academy, and they learned the difference of local to state to federal, how it works, how to write a bill, how to lobby for a bill, how to lobby against it, how to testify for a bill, how to testify against it. And they wanted to be better leaders. And they took away from their jobs to go through this 10-week academy. So, you know, are we trying to be better? Heck yeah, man. We had 26 of them graduate, and we're going to be holding some more. We're building our leadership back up. And Norma, good to see you.
Maybe not when I get done.
Good, I know.
When my husband and I moved here 48 years ago, we loved this town. It was a great town to raise kids. It was a beautiful place to live, but I am sad now. This is not a beautiful place to live anymore. It just isn't. And I think everybody would agree. It is. I had 40-some people in my backyard 2 weekends ago for a wedding shower. A lot of people from were out of town that have visited La Junta before, because most of them were relatives. They were shocked at how La Junta looks.
The weeds?
The weeds, the dilapidated houses, the homeless, the druggies. I live on Carson, and I am surrounded by druggies. It is just the way it is. But something has to be done. We should be able to take our town back. This is our town. It is not theirs. The other thing that I wanted to bring up was the CEO from the hospital spoke Monday night.
Yes.
And I want to give kudos to him.
Yes.
I work at the hospital in the gift shop. And in order to have a town that is going to prosper, we have to have a hospital. Along with other things, Casa del Sol is a wonderful facility for our town. But the rest of it is not. You know, our infrastructure isn't doing well. Our roads are a mess. And I know you're trying to do the weeds. And I understand that, and I know it's a hard thing, but I'll tell you, in the winter when we got some snow that was quite a bit, I felt so sorry for our mail carriers because nobody cleans their sidewalks, and all our mail carriers are older, you know, and the ones, it just makes me furious. So I don't know what the answer is to that, but there has to be an answer. There, you know. I'm willing to work with something. I'm not going to go clean some lazy young people's sidewalk because they're too lazy to get out and do it. But there should be fines. There should be, you know, there should be something to be done. It just makes me so mad.
Yes.
As you can tell.
Right, and Norma, you're right. You know,
Let me go over it quickly. Thank you, Norma, for that question.
Okay.
I agree with you 150%.
and we are trying our best, you know, but people aren't taking care of their lawns anymore. You know, homeless is a problem because of the drug deal. But let me tell you, Joe had a meeting with, we had a dinner with the Attorney General to discuss why. Why is there such an increase?
And what can we do?
What can we do? And he wasn't taking ownership of the lack of laws and how they've diminished some of these laws and stuff. They've kind of put the legal system into bad place because, they're not doing the felonies and stuff, and they need to get that back, Norma, so I'm with you.
That is true, but we still need to get it done.
We do. We need to get done.
Together, it needs to get done.
And you said it best, Norma. You said we need to take our city back.
Yes.
And that's true. And let me tell you a quick short story. When I was 16, I had my first job at Safeway. Okay, and when I got hired, I had to get 5 white shirts with the collar, and I had to learn how to tie my tie, and I had to wear my apron just a certain way, and I had to do floor sweeps every hour. And there was a guy named Arden and Monty. They would go through with a white glove. If I didn't dust right, they'd say that's not right. You go into Safeway today, no one's wearing a collared shirt. No one's wearing a tie. I don't even think they have aprons anymore. So things change, and they don't always change for the better. And the city was probably beautiful, and we all have this romance with the way things used to be when we were younger and things like that. Maybe there were bad houses when I was young, but I wasn't paying attention. I was riding my bike. I didn't see whose weeds were not cut. Maybe it's this new generation. I don't know. But I do agree that we need to do something. And it starts with people like you saying, let's do this. My wife schedules a cleanup at least a couple times a month, and we go out and we try and fix problem areas in town. We can't get them all because we're only a limited bunch, but we're trying. The police, a lot of people give them a bad rep. You're never going to hear me criticize our police force. And I don't care if people don't like that. I support them 150% because their hands are tied on a lot of things. They can arrest somebody and they can be out that same night without putting up any money. And that's not their fault. They're out there trying their best, and they're also limited in how many people they have on call at one time. They can't be everywhere, and they're trying their best. So we need to look at changing laws. That's why we're meeting with the Attorney General. We need to look at changing some ordinances, having some camping ordinances. I understand that people are on hard times, but it doesn't give them the right to commit crimes. Okay? If you have a drug addiction, that's one thing, but when you go and start stealing from people, that's another thing.
Exactly.
That's a crime, and that's a difference right there. Okay, so yes, it's a problem. We're going to try and work on it, and we need people like you to help us.
Well, and in order for this town to prosper, it has to look better, and it's not going to do that. So,
But do you want to take over the neighbor's yard that isn't being taken care of?
No,
Do you want
I
to be
can't.
responsible?
No.
They need to be responsible.
Absolutely. But I figure by fining them or something, they should be.
I don't find it really good. They can't do the work. They probably can't pay for it either.
Well, something needs, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but.
Strengthen the laws. That's what
That's
we're
right.
Yeah, HOA.
Mr. Ayala.
Thank you very much. Zeke Ayala, 702 Bellevue. Just had a real quick, I guess, thought or whatnot about that two-way ordeal. Is there a measure on that particular ballot to revisit it later on? Like
No
two-way?
sunset? No sunset.
No
sunset.
No sunset. I just wanted to make sure and see, is that a possibility?
Not as of right now, no.
No? Okay.
It's all
I
right.
mean, I've been talking to a lot of constituents, and that on the particular ballot to revisit it later on would be something that they would be interested in maybe to see on there.
Well, and this is just back to you.
Sure.
I know you said someone else said you. Do you think things are going to go down later
Well,
on?
with bringing Sutherland's in and that particular tax revenue as well, too. I mean, you know what I'm saying? We're trying to bring more businesses and stuff, right? We're trying to regulate this particular done and get it where we need to be. If we get it back where we need to be, can we revisit that tax again? Maybe do something else with it, maybe put it somewhere else, maybe do something as well. If we come back to whatever, we're feeling prosperous, etc.
If we have a road growth and stuff like that, we can lower it. I've seen back in the.
He said if we grew really huge and
Well, I'm
we-
not saying, if we got back to where we needed to be and prosperous in the whole 9 yards, could we revisit the tax? Not necessarily expunge it and get rid of it, but utilize it elsewhere.
Maybe.
Okay.
And with that too, people always say about Pueblo, and Pueblo has a ton more businesses than we do. So yeah, they could even be a little bit lower, but they're getting way more tax revenue than we do.
Exactly. Because of that fact, right? Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Dottie. Welcome, Dottie, up. Good seeing you.
I'm Dottie Burnett. I live at Casa del Sol. I just have a quick question about your little budget here.
Yeah.
It just shows 2023
Yep.
And then the adjustment, because it didn't pass last year.
It didn't pass last year, and Dottie, I didn't have, I thought it was gonna pass. I just had it in my mind it was gonna pass, so,
Well, no, my
but this
question
year I'm
is-
going into it, yeah, we don't got it. And let them pass it without anything in it.
Okay, well, what
And
my
then we'll
question
add-
is, to me, this isn't enough information. I would like to see a comparison to the prior years on what the budget was and what you were.
Right, and that's on that website. On, the one of the two that I was sending.
The second paper I made for you today answers all of her questions, but I didn't see it over here.
Bingo, oh, I got that,
Oh,
okay,
no,
I got another sheet
okay.
that you can, now it's actuals, it's not budget, and you know that, I know you know the difference. Budget is what you think, and actual is what actually happened. So, yeah, I'll get you an actual.
Okay, so when are you going to start working on the 2024 budget?
We already are, in fact, I have all my meetings next week, and,
Okay.
and stuff.
right?
Huh?
It's without one.
And it's without. And, I hate to even look at my supervisors right now because they know what's coming on. And they know that I'm tearing out the library and the pool and senior center and the golf course.
When will
And
that be
this is-
available for the public to view before?
It's going, probably about September 1st, first week in
Okay,
September.
and you ran a
we'll have
legal
it.
notice in the paper saying
Yes, and then
to
we'll
come up
be-
and look at it? And-
Guaranteed.
Rick,
Okay.
it's the
Yes.
first Tuesday after Labor Day.
First Tuesday after Labor Day.
And
Okay.
It's presented at city council on that day,
Yeah.
and you can pick one up the next day here in the city building. Downstairs is my office, the finance director, and we have available, I make enough for everybody in this room. So you
Okay.
can come and pick one up and look at it, and you can look at every single line item.
Is it more than just one page?
Oh, it's a book.
Okay.
And I think
You
it's
can
another
do
book.
I know. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, Tony. Come on down.
Tony Madrid, 35 Mount View Drive. So when we talk about revenue and other businesses, is there, I'm going to use the word strategic plan for the lack of a better one, is there something that we have or that we're working on to bring, things in like a Kentucky Fried Chicken, or do something with the, the Gibson building? Is there something in the works to generate more business to Lahana? Maybe fill up Colorado Avenue that's pretty empty right now?
Okay, I can't say that, but someone else can.
Okay, yeah. Let's go Gibson's building. We have the right to tear it down now. We went through court and we got the right. So, but, right when we got the right to tear it down, I had some people come down from Denver and they wanted to buy it. Right, so we went in and we did our due diligence, and they've been trying to get the owner, because see, we have the right to tear it down. We don't own it. It didn't until you tear it down, go back to court and say, okay, this is what it costs to tear it down. You guys want to buy it back, or does anybody else? Right? So, but they came back and they said, okay, this guy wants way too much more money for that and stuff. But if you ever drop it down, he said, we'll bring in Arby's and Chick-fil-A. Right. I never looked for him. He came to us. We don't go out looking, but fast foods, they come to us. Okay, Carolyn, you got to get up here.
Not a problem. Did you skip me?
Oh, no. Angela's before you.
That's fine, I don't have a problem with that. Just keep me honest.
You got to know somebody here.
Oh, I've always been this loud, sir. So, the only reason I'm up here, I don't have a question. I do organize community cleanups, and I know that it's been said a lot in the live feed and in public, and some of the older generation believe that the reason our town is in decline is because the younger individuals of our community don't care. They don't take care of their lawns, they don't do community service, they don't do anything along those lines of what used to happen. But I'm here to tell you that there's hope. Every time I do these community cleanups, I've had an entire softball team of young ladies come and clean up our community, trash, weeds, you name it. They were doing it in the snow A whole softball team, dirt lover softball team came. My last community cleanup, I had the entire junior high and high school football team come. I didn't ask them, they found me. They said, I like what you're doing, how can we get involved? Had the college reach out to me, and their younger people want to start to help rehab this town. I've done everything from paint curbs and gutters, I've picked up trash, I've cleaned trash cans, I've cleaned windows. I am not above anything to make our community look better. At the end of the day, I don't care if it is somebody's job or if we're paying somebody to do it. I have the means, I have the hustle, and I have the love for my community to get it done. And we may have employees that step in, and I get a lot of people saying, why are you doing that? Somebody gets paid to do that. Because it needs to get done, and we don't have the time for those people to go and do it. There's a point where you have to bring your talk and your complaints and you have to put it into action. I'm all about that. I'll talk all day, but when I get started, watch me go. So if anybody's interested in helping in any of the community cleanups, my cell phone number is all over town. See me before you leave. We can get it done. Thank you.
And if you can't do it physically, call someone that you know. Hey, they're having a cleanup this day. Do this, do that. There's multiple ways to help if you can't physically do it.
Okay, my question is back to Gibson's. How much investigation, now you can tear it down.
Yeah.
You don't own it, but you can tear it down.
Right.
Okay, my 32 years in real estate, have you guys investigated asbestos, mold, and what it's going to cost to tear that down, keeping those things intact? Because when you do, I'm not finished yet. When you do mold, that's a huge thing. Just like asbestos, and you have to wear suits, you have to have things screened up. Yeah. Have you guys done that and found out what the cost is?
Yeah.
What's the cost?
Okay, so I love that. Thank you, Carolyn. Because we do 2 EPA programs. In the last 5 years, tore down 45 houses. You'll see another 5 come down in September. EPA just let me know today. They're up in the mountains. They'll be coming in September to tear down the next 5. We'll be looking at the Gibsons. It's not for tear down this year because I already had 5 in there, and you got to get the budget approved and stuff like that. Well, we always have to come in and do a phase 1, and that's what she's talking about. You have to find out what your contaminant levels are and stuff like that. Now, a lot of the ones that we picked up, they're burnt out. So, they're called an open air permit. And what they do is come in with line trucks and keep water going on it. You saw that at 3rd and Bellevue with the old Holbrook place. So, but then, I just got through, and the Ayers and Associates will be our contractor for a $500,000 Brownsfield grant. Now, Brownsfield is contaminated buildings and stuff. And why we did this is, like Inspiration Field, the old South School, Miller Hall, Nursing Home West, and we can go with any private building, that the owner would like us to come in. They will assess it, get the cleanup, take the test, get the cleanup plan, and cleanup cost, all under this grant for free, and then we turn you over to an 80-20 EPA program where you pay 20% of the removal, and then you could either renovate that building or tear it down or whatever. And that's probably the best program I've seen out of the EPA in a long time. And it's a Superfund program, and everybody goes, well, Rick, where are you getting this money? I go, Superfund. They go, oh, nobody wants to do the paperwork. It's only paperwork. We did the paperwork. It wasn't that hard, but now, the EPA, they've already said they'll do this year, and they'll even come back next year. Now, they're wanting to move out, but we keep getting, other buildings in, so we keep them in the loop. And I'm going to give kudos to our city attorney, because that man right there goes to the courts and does all the dirty dealing to get these properties, and then he sends me a letter and says, you have the right to tear it down, but you don't own it. And those are great programs. So thank you for letting me explain them.
Well, not only that, but having the experience in that, you have to have it in writing and all down. Who's going to tear it down, what their qualifications are, what their methods are. I know that for a fact because I worked in it.
Yes.
So I would like to see that.
You can look at the EPA site for City of La Junta, and they hired their own contractors. They bring them in. They got their own people that tear them down, and they hire the trucks. So far, I've noticed it's been a trucking company out of Los Angeles. And but then they haul it to certified landfill, and they give us a letter saying, you are free and clear. Sell it.
I know it's very technical for the people that do this, that do the destruction of it, because I taught classes on mold removal. So I know a little bit about what you have to do to remove mold without injuring people's health.
So, we're trying to get a trades program going back and stuff. Now, I know somebody that could help us with the asbestos side.
I've done more work on the mold side.
Okay.
But asbestos is very, very similar.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, Carolyn.
So, some of the things that Kimberly Gallegos, 1421 Bradish Avenue here in La Junta. Since the sales tax increase did not pass last year, there's of course been lots and lots of discussion, and some of the key things that have come up with people is, I didn't know that these things were a part of benefiting from the sales tax. Okay, we have worked very hard at the library this summer using our All Together Now theme to educate our community using the terms that are going to show up on the ballot so that people have an understanding about shopping local, sales tax, the general fund, and then where that is distributed. If you've been in the library, then you have seen this huge trifold that we have on display that gives you a visual for that, okay?
We brought in different departments.
Yes, and we showcased, we did a couple of events called Touch a Truck. So the first ones that came in were our emergency personnel. They brought in a fire truck, police car, and an ambulance. They talked to our community that attended about the importance of having those emergency services. The next one was some of our city departments and their vehicles. So we had transit, we had the engineering department there, we had the water department there. So one of the things that I pointed out that day to our crowd is I said, some of you that are on Facebook have seen the griping. I mean, constantly, every day, somebody's complaining about something. It was a chance for us to showcase. I asked one of the guys from engineering, how many, talking about potholes, talking about weeds, how many people within the city take care of just those things? 4. We got 4 people taking care of that, okay? My next thought as just a citizen of La Junta is, what are you doing as a citizen to make a difference in that? Are you going, because correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it our responsibility as homeowners to go to the curb?
Yes.
With our cleaning? Okay, so if you're complaining about the weeds that are on your sidewalk, that's actually your responsibility. How much harder would it be to go just a little bit further into the road and do spraying, pulling? You know, I'm just giving suggestions here because it is very frustrating to hear so many people gripe. But today, the number one thing that I was thinking of is something that is going to be vital. People are still saying, why are they asking for this money? They have money. My supervisor was at a meeting today that somebody said that. Like, the library will never close. The golf course will never close. The pool will never close. And the senior center will never close because they have money. Okay, there is no money. So one of the things that I wanted one of you to talk about is, how long have we been dipping into our savings to pay bills and pay salaries for City of La Junta employees?
And this is something I got mad at Rick for, because when it failed in 2015, Rick did such a good job at keeping everything going as is. And we didn't do cuts, we didn't do things that we probably should have started doing, because then that perception gets out there that they don't need it. They got money, they're fine. You know, we get a couple grants, we get lucky, we get some stuff like that, and you can't count on grants. They're nice when you get them, they're great when you get them, but you cannot just count on those grants to come in. So Rick can tell you how long they've been doing it, and then also tell them about the reserves and how much you have to keep in there. And because we cannot go below a certain amount, otherwise we're going to get hit on that.
Okay, you know, like on utilities, it's 25% of the previous year revenue. In 2015, I was standing out in front of everybody, and I wish I wouldn't have, because I said, okay, I could keep this going for 5 more years if we don't have it. Well, nobody voted for it, and I probably shouldn't have said that. You know, stretched it to 7 years, and we went back out. Well, now 1 year's gone by. Now, how was I able to take it to 7 years? It's got good staff, supervisors, and a pandemic hit. And they started throwing out silly money, and then they ruined the system, you know, and we're still trying to get it back. But, you know, 40-year inflation, you know, at one point I was so frustrated because I was seeing CDOT come through trying to steal all of our employees, and I had to leave from water department right away. And then electric department, Black Hills and Southeast was coming in and offering them $20 an hour more than what we were paying them. And they cut a deal saying, you give us $5, we all stay. You know, and that was enforced. You know, I had CSP coming through and trying to get all of our cops, policemen. And then we had, anytime we send up our people to like Pueblo, Springs, or Denver for certifications of water and wastewater, you know, you have Colorado Springs and Denver going, 80,000, leave them, come on, 80,000, leave them. You know, and that's what was going on. And it got to be so bad, I started calling up to, you know, like CDOT. And I was like, hey, man, would you guys like to come work for City of La Junta? And then next thing I know, I got a phone call going, hey, why you guys, why you calling up and offering? And I said, because you guys are coming into my shop and saying you'll give them $10,000, quit it. They were trying to steal all of our help. So we took action. Now, you know, if you think we're getting paid enough, all I did was I saw where we passed where minimum wage went up to $15 an hour, right? You know, if you're like a supervisor and you have so much responsibility, you're required to pay them $55,000. 5 years ago, that was $32,000. Now, the state and did that. You know, we got rid of the Gallagher. We raised the minimum. Now we got to pay for that stuff. You know, so the average general fund city worker, average hourly wage with all seasonals is $22.11. Without department heads, it's $20.13. Well, for our recreation people, make 15. What was that? 85. Well, guess what? Library people make 1869, or 1569. They could go to Walmart and work. But thank you for caring about the people of this community, because these people who work in your library, this last year, they're like, Rick, we don't want to hurt anybody. We don't want to hurt it. We got to keep this going. And I keep telling them, you do that to your detriment, because if you don't see that it's going to close, they won't believe it, because that's what happened last year. Well, believe it. Pool, library, golf course, senior center, cut out. Brings the budget into line. We got a balanced budget, but that's $1.4 million we need to operate them.
How about the reserves?
Okay, reserves. Lisa.
How much money did we have in savings 5 years ago, Mr. Klein?
About $5 million.
And how much will we have at the end of this year?
About 2 to 3.
1.3.
1.3. That's right.
So in 5 years, we've gone from $5 million down to 1.3. And
Yeah.
it is not fiscally responsible for the city of La Junta to go below $1 million.
Nope.
Because
There's your limit.
things happen, emergencies happen, and we need to have that emergency fund that will also take us below the 25% that we try to keep in the general fund for those emergencies.
Lisa, this is super important, and I want to make sure that all 38
Yes.
people watching on Facebook hear what you're saying. Can you please?
I can come up to mine. Although I'm just as loud as this nice lady in red.
Thank you.
And also, if we don't have those funds in there, it's hard to get grants if we don't have the funds to match. So keep that in mind if we
Oh
go
yeah,
too
we
long.
lose our ability. Once we lose that 1.3, we lost our ability to match grants.
So 6 years ago, we had $5 million in savings. We have pulled from savings every year that I have been the finance director, and that was 2015. 2015, I was made the finance director. And we have pulled from savings every single year. At the end of 2023, we will have 1.3 million. It is not fiscally responsible for the city of Junta to go below $1 million in savings. And quite frankly, $1 million is less than the 25%. That is where our savings is. We have, like I said, we have pulled every year. If you have watched any of our budgets, or you watch any of our budgets, you will see me talk about due to from retained earnings. That's your savings. Due to from is your savings. So if I tell you I got to take $1.3 million out of savings and put it in revenue, that's what I have to do in order to make the expenses. And we've talked about that. I recommend everybody go back and watch at least one budget. Just one. You don't even have to watch the whole thing. Once I get through one fund, they're all the same. It's important to understand. And one thing I wanted to mention that you guys have talked about is Sutherland. Sutherland is not going to bring us $1.4 million. It's not even going to bring us a tenth of that. And that's their estimate. Cynthia, am I correct?
You are correct.
Hey, would you just say, the other day when I asked you on what's your definition of general fund? And you have a good one.
The easiest, and you can Google it, but it is not at its finest. But the definition of a general fund is departments that are not self-sufficient. That's the definition. Everybody's like, oh, I don't want to put it in the general fund. They can do whatever they want. No, we can't. There is a budget that your council, sir, approved, and we have to stay within that budget. And if we don't, you'll know it because those auditors will tell you. That's why we're audited, to make sure that the money goes where we say it goes, the money goes where it's supposed to go, and we don't overspend what we've been told we can spend by the council. Who was it that wanted to see a budget? That budget, and yes, it's a lot of pages, but don't worry, I got summaries in there. That tells you what we are going to spend the money on, what we've told the library they can spend, what we've told the golf course, what we've told I can spend as finance. This is what I'm allowed to spend on postage. Postage. I got to mail all those utility bills, and guess how many times they have raised postage in the last 5 years? Twice a year for 5 years. And they don't even tell us. We show up and they say our postage is wrong and we got to go back and fix it. So those are the things that you're going to see in that budget. But we don't spend general fund money willy-nilly. It's approved by council in a budget that we stick to the best we can unless an emergency comes up. So
And then also there's a general fund, and then there is enterprise funds. And we cannot take money from enterprise funds. That does not work that way. There's also a nice thing called tourism that we cannot take money from unless that goes to the voters. So all these always get thrown out there sometimes. It's not possible. We cannot do that.
When we say fund, think business. We have an electric business. Now, if you're running a business, you're not going to sell something for less than what you produce it, one. And two, you're not going to give it away for free. So when we raised rates, what we did is we brought the profit and expense this way. We're not out for profit. A lot of people have business and they're out for profit. We're not. We're out to break even and maybe have a little bit extra to put in our depreciation, which means we want to put it in savings so we can replace our bad infrastructure. That's what we want to do. So we have an electric business, we have a water business, we have a wastewater business, sanitation business, and we have a tourism business. It is a tourism business. There are 17 funds or businesses that the city of Lahaina has. If you look at a budget book, it's the first page, list them all. Now we include urban renewal because they are an offset of the city, but the city has no say in what urban, they have their own FEIN. It's different than ours. They run their own business. We just include it because we save them costs. So they don't have to pay for an audit, they don't have to pay for a budget. That's all we're doing. That's all we do for them. That's it.
Federal ID.
That's that number on the W-2 that you have to put in whenever you do your taxes, if you do them through the computer.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Lisa.
I'm always available for questions. You know that.
And I do appreciate that from Elisa and Mr. Klein and Elisa and the mayor have been saying this since day one. The budget is not a secret, so anybody that thinks that there were things that were being hidden, you have access to it. I don't know who would want to go through all the numbers. I don't think I would even be able to understand. The things I've learned in just the last year has been mind-blowing.
Hey, I do it.
You're a numbers person, though.
Anybody could do it.
The other thing that I just wanted to address real quick is that I've also heard that the city just wants more money and they haven't cut anything. And I just wanted to share the figure that Heather and I talked to Elisa about yesterday so that everybody would know. When that didn't pass last year, Rick told the supervisors, you need to cut your budgets by 24%. Well, for the library, for instance, Heather couldn't get to 24% without probably cutting half of the staff. The city council is the one that ultimately decided they didn't want any employees to lose their jobs. So, as far as I know, 24% was not cut from every department. For the library, and I confirm this with Heather, 8% is what was cut. Okay? Altogether, the departments all cut $1.1 million. And I think that that's important to say because I keep hearing people say the city's not doing anything, they're not trying to make changes. And also, another visual that Heather was pointing out to me, sorry Heather that I keep blasting you. Somebody was telling her we should have a visual of like, what did things cost in 1982, which was when the 3% was established. Could you live off of the wages that you were making in 1982 today? No, nobody can. So if you're feeling inflation at home, what do you think that that looks like on a citywide level? How, Mr. Klein, have you been, because I'm also hearing that's bad management. Well, I didn't go to school for city management, so I'm not going to argue that point, but what I can say is I'm in awe at how you've been able to run the city on 3% for over 40 years. So thank you for that.
Well, before I let you get there, Rick is an employee of the city council, okay? And Rick gets his direction from city council. And it wasn't fair, in my opinion, it wasn't fair to Rick for a long time because he was never given that direction directly through a review of any kind. Okay, we think around 7 years ago, but we couldn't even prove that happened. He got his review this year, and it was done professionally. I think you'd agree. Yes. And we gave you direction on how you wanted to go. And going forward, any councils in the future should continue, whether it's Rick or whoever, should continue to do that because without that, he's just trying to navigate his way. And he's done a phenomenal job. So good job for that. But that's what needs to keep happening into the future. So, I'm glad he did a great job, but if he wouldn't have, that's council's job, and that's everyone in this room. When you elect a councilman or a mayor, they have to be watching the manager and making sure we're doing it. We got lucky with Rick, but it won't always be that way.
I got to give credit to the two men that's right below my picture up there, Carmen Starler and Dan Noller, and because they taught me a lot. As far as with Carmi when I was during the 80s, I was over at Otero County, and
they wanted to do some demolition over in North Lahana, so that's where I got to know Dan and Carmi. And I was always impressed with Mr. Sarlo, getting through, because he started in '78 with 1%. Back then, councils could just pass it; there was no taper. They made up their revenues versus their expenses. But that man, he came in and like 1977, when all the employees were picketing, we had the ones that stayed, the supervisors were they were running, people like Harold Schofield and Marcel Martinez, in the streets and in utilities, and they took a lot of flack. And Mr. Sarlo did too, Now, Christine, I know you're sitting right there. I'd always heard about during that time about a brick coming through you guys' window and stuff. But that man was, he took the slings of arrows to make it right. And he knew Lahana needed those taxes to make it right. And he got that job done. And we're at that point again. Dan Lawler, 1999, he when he walked in, he said, Rick, he goes, I took a 3-week vacation. The only time I ever done that in my life. And 2 weeks in, I'm going to come back, but that's okay. I wasn't here. But when I came back, he said, I'm retiring. And I said, what? Why are you retiring? And he said, you'll know one day when you walk in, you're done. You're ready. And he goes, I can't make the budget work no more. I'm sorry, I'm leaving you with this. Well, we found ways. Went through a lot of supervisors and stuff, and a lot of replacement, and then got a good crowd, and been riding that wave, with people like Heather and Brock and Lisa, Bill and Dean and everybody helping out, and for 24 years, and I find myself, being one of the oldest city managers out there as far as longevity and age, and but. When I came back in this town in 1981 to go work for Otero County, I was coming back, when I went to college. I'm a civil engineer. And when I was up at CSU, I always told everybody I was coming back to make a difference. And I've tried, and this community asked me to build the library, they asked me to redo the pool, they asked me to redo the senior center and build the industries and stuff. And I was building on the legacy of the backs of those two men, and I was never so proud. And I still am. I love this town. I still believe in it. And there's enough good people in this town that we get this done and then we move forward. We don't move backwards. Look at Canyon City. They had a 1% sales tax that failed on their rec district. They closed their pool. Look at Rocky Ford Golf. It's volunteer. Look at their pool up in Rocky Ford. What is it? Volunteers. They got 2 people in their library, and then the rest is volunteers. Northern New Mexico, been looking at that, and over the last 5 years, most all of them have went to volunteer libraries and stuff. This is not nothing that's just isolated to Lahonta. This is going on right across our nation. And but you know what? We're better than that. We don't need to become Rocky Ford and that, because normally that's when it gets bad. When you don't got enough cops on the ground. So, let's do better. Let's get to 1%.
Do you have any more questions? Any questions? Going once? All right. Well, before I close it up, I said something earlier about the police department, and I didn't want to criticize them. That's all city workers. I think it's important for you all to know what these people go through. Yes, it's a job, but other than professional athletes and politicians, I don't think there's anyone criticized more than a city worker. From the city manager to the janitor, everyone knows how to do their job better than them. God forbid our street workers ever take a break outside because they're just leaning on shovels and they're not doing anything. They do a lot for this city, and they do it shorthanded. So when people say, why did you give them a raise? They're either going to be overworked and underpaid or just overworked. And they're going to be overworked if I have anything to say about it. Okay? They do a lot for this city, and they do it because they love it. They could go other places. A lot of them stay because they love it. Those linemen, they could have left. And we could have been calling and hoping that we'd get an answer from someone to come fix that. When it rains all the time, when the power goes out, I don't have power at my house. Just so you guys know, when the power goes out, it goes out for me too. So I want that on camera. I don't need a call saying the power's out. I know it's out. I know. I don't get to keep it. It's hard when you have an old infrastructure, when you have things that cost a lot of money that we don't currently have right now to get fixed, but they're still willing to go out there and fix things and put their lives on the line for these things. Our officers their hands are tied, but they're still going out there every night, and they want to make it home to their families every night. All of our employees do. They all care about the city. So give them a little grace sometimes. You know what I mean? They deserve that much. And so it's not just the police officers. I support all our city employees. And I really hope you guys think hard about this 1%. That wasn't just the whole intention of this meeting, but that's what got brought up a lot. And I really hope you guys think hard before you make that vote. And if you have more questions, we'll do another one.
Yeah.
We'll do more of these. It's your guys' time, and we can do this as many times as you want. Whether it's 1%, whether something else comes up that you guys want to talk about, we're here for that. We did have a electrical handout there too, because I get told all the time, you guys are way more than everybody else, and that's not true. And you guys can see that for yourselves
We
too.
bundle all of our bills into one. If you live in Colorado Springs, you'll get an electric bill, you'll get a water bill, you'll get a wastewater bill. We put them all under one. So, make sure when they're telling you that, they're apples to apples.
trash
And
Trash.
yes, trash is always separate except for us. All service city except for gas.
And with that, thank you guys for coming out, and I hope to see you guys all at the council meeting if you would like.
Thank you, Mayor Ayala and River.
For the city of La Junta and the people of Southeast Colorado. With your Southeast Colorado news, I'm Adrian Hart.